Okay, so I talked about from a frontal section of what or it's really a posterior frontal section of what the female anatomy was like, and I just want to go through some quick, I guess, aspects of it that we normally talk about. There's the bladder. This is your uterus. Look how thick, how much of that myometrium there is, and how very little endometrium there is. There's the cervix. There's the cervical os, the cervical canal, the vagina, things like that. There's the egg, there's the fimbriae, there's the ovarian tubes or fallopian tubes, there's the bladder, there's the rectum, there's the anus, the labia minora, labia majora, the clitoris, and the mons pubis. So I guess the best way to do this is just to go from one direction to the end. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start off over here. And what we have right here is the mons pubis, or the pubic mound. And what this is this is a superficial fat pad, and it cushions it because it's going to receive, in the event of a trauma, it is just what it does. It's a fat pad. Moving down, we start to see the clitoris here, and that's the blue. If I could wait for the damn camera to focus. That's as good as it's going to get. It's actually better without less light, I think. Anyways, this is the clitoris, and I want to point out that if you can't quite see it as well as, there we go, it's a little bit better. Where I'm covering this pen with, that's the head of the clitoris, and this also contains a prepuce, or a foreskin, and this little other contractile tissue here this contains corpus cavernosa, which, if you remember what we talked about in the penis, that's why they tend to originate from the same thing. And the clitoris is incredibly sensitive. Imagine all the nerves on your head, on the head of a penis, squished down to about the size of this little tip of my pen, the tip of your eraser end of a pencil. That's about how many nerves, all in one area, all just kind of smushed down into this little compact area. So it's an incredibly sensitive, very delicate object. Moving down here, and this is very sensitive, lots of sensitive areas. So what we have here is this labia minora and labia majora here too, and they do a number of functions, but what they do predominantly is to protect a lot of this sensitive tissue, and a lot of this, it's a physical barrier, and that's why a lot of them are just made out of mostly fat. The labia minora or labia majora is the one that will sometimes grow a lot of pubic hair, and the labia minora is smooth. And what the labium, the word means, is lips. So labia minora here is the small lips. Labia majora is the large lips. And what they do is, in fact, whenever the woman becomes aroused, and this is I guess not the best picture, and I guess could draw it over here, or I trying to here, kind of a very crudely, well, not crudely drawn, but hastily drawn. So there's your labia minora and labia majora. And as a woman becomes aroused, they're going to start to be filling up with blood and engorged, and they're going to actually move. They're going to expand outward. So one's going to go that way, the other's going to go the opposite end. And that's going to make things easier for the penis to enter and things like that. But that's predominantly what they do. There's your bladder. That's not really important. Now, okay. This is where things get a little bit interesting. So we talked about the cervix and things like that, and the cervix, well, not the cervix, but the vagina. The vagina is not glandular. It contains no glands whatsoever. All that it really is stratified squamous epithelia, which contains some glycogen and smooth muscle. That's pretty much all that it does. Yeah, it's squamous epithelium. Anyways, but what it does is there's a chemical, once a girl becomes pubescent, once she hits puberty, she starts to produce a hormone called transudate. And what this does is it's basically blood serum, and as you know, in the circulation, it's obviously not showing the vascular components of this, but there's blood circulating around this, and blood is going to leave from the bloodstream and enter into the interior portion of these vaginal walls, and it's going to lubricate the inner portions of the vagina. And so whenever a girl says "I'm wet," it provides that, and what it does is it obviously enables things to enter in there much more easily than things would be if it was dry. And once a woman reaches menopause, she no longer can produce this transudate, and so she does dry up, and that's when it's we use things like KY and stuff like that to help ensure that these people can maintain their sex lives, but they stop producing transudate after menopause. It's a hormonal component restricted to women that causes a lot of the lubrication of the vagina. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Okay, right here. This is the Bartholin's or greater vestibular gland, and it's homologous to the Cowper's gland or to the bulbourethral gland. And what it does is it just the exact same thing. It makes it secretes alkaline uh, alkaline secretions for because remember sperm prefer alkaline environment, and the vagina itself is very 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 acidic. Now, enough of that. What I want to talk about is right there where I've seen this little, that is the Grafenberg spot, or as one may say, the G spot. And if one stimulates this Grafenberg spot or the G spot, they're going to stimulate the Skene's gland here. And they're not actual, it's not just one whole individual gland, it's actually a bunch of little teeny tiny glandular cells roaming about there, but it makes up the remnants. And what this is this is kind of slangily termed the female prostate. But in the event of stimulation in intercourse things, that's why women say that width matters than length. Uh, but when this is stimulated, the Grafenberg spot is hit. This is going to also stimulate the Skene's gland, and this Skene's gland can result in the ejaculation, female ejaculation, or as slang terms, squirting. And this is the also kind of the Skene's gland is homologous to the prostate in males. And if you look really carefully right there, there's a little bit of tissue right here. That's where the hymen would be. And this area down here is called the vestibule, which is it's actually a architect term for lobby. And so I'm going to move on to the next video real quick.